Hey, good afternoon. Hey, George.
Hello.
Hey, I can hear some background. I can hardly hear you speaking at the moment.
No, man, let me see if I can. You can hear me better now? Or?
Yeah, that was better. That's good. How's it going?
Everything is okay. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Hey, Chad. Thanks for joining us. So, George or Jorge, I keep forgetting how to pronounce your name. George.
George is fine.
Yeah. Where is it? You're out in Kuwait?
In Bahrain.
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 How are things settling down there?
Well, things are, it's almost, I guess, become a new normal life. It's not as restrictive as many other countries, but they do have quite a structured approach in place. So that means anybody who has come in contact with people that could have had the corona, even if they're tested negative, they're put on quarantine.
Okay.
They have to stay home for 14 days, even after being tested. They're given a mobile app, so they have like geofencing.
Okay.
So it's becoming a little bit more sophisticated and learning, from the various approaches. So you can say it has stabilized somehow.
That's good. Chad, thanks for joining us. Do you want to introduce yourself? Where are you based?
Hey, Gary. Based in London. Just been following you guys on the chat. Thanks for all the info. It's been really good. Working from home in London, based in Surrey. But our company, AIX, is based in central London, and we're all working remotely. So, yeah, just keen to see what's going on out there and how everyone's staying safe.
Yeah, cool. That's the thing. I've found it quite useful running these sessions each day, just listening to what's going on around the world. So it's like we've got George out in the Middle East. We had a guy on yesterday from Hong Kong, another one from Singapore. Just listening to what's going on so that we can learn what's likely to happen in the UK and what's likely to happen elsewhere, really.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of fake news, and I'm not really sure what's real or not, and a lot of scaremongering going on. And I presume April Fool's yesterday with regards to bottle stores shutting down here in the UK. I think that will be anarchy, but yeah, just keen to see what's actually going on.
Yeah, it's absolutely right, because I've been having chats with various people. I think it was Bloomberg, of all reports, the other day. They were talking about riots in the streets in Sicily, and looting and rioting and everything. And
yeah.
I spoke to one of the people in one of the forums on here, and they said, no, it's nothing. We're having our coffee. It's fairly chilled out. There's no problem. There's no food shortages. Everyone's getting
wow.
okay. And then I spoke to somebody else who's got a relative out in Palermo, and she said exactly the same. She said, well, we're seeing these fake news stories coming out about all sorts going on, and it's just not there. And it's kind of like, well, why are people creating these fake stories? What do they gain by making people worried that there's outbreaks of violence around the world? Or equally, what do people have to gain to not admit that there are? It's, as you say, fake news. You can't figure out what's real, what's fake.
Yeah, for me, it's quite scary. Just some background. I was a commodity trader for 22 years, trading gold specifically, and silver and precious metals. And the move we've seen in the markets have been quite aggressive. And, all the traders are talking about comparing it to the Great Depression and how we've kind of done enough already. And to me, I think we are in a place where in those days, and even with 2008, with the big pullback, we never had as much social it was sort of social media where everyone's clicking on their phones every 2 seconds and having access to to just this, your phone getting pinged every 2 minutes with news that's fake or not, or just the psychology behind how people are trading now is different to how it was in depression and how it was back then. So it's really interesting space now.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges with the new technology is that we're all far better connected, and as a result, far worse informed, because there's such a risk of stuff coming through and you don't know whether it's real or it's fake or whatever. So, hey, Priya, good afternoon to you.
Hey, Gary.
How's
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Hanging in there. So is this the AIX team coming on board today then?
Yeah, is this a first call or have you guys been doing this regularly?
So I've been running daytime sessions like this for about 30 minutes for over a week.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's just over a week now. And the idea was really just to hear what's going on around the world, learn from people's experience of how their governments are reacting, how their communities are reacting, what's going on with their economies, because I find that you can learn about what's going to happen in your area by listening to what's going on already in other areas. So we've had Alexander on a couple of times from Hong Kong. Hong Kong are a bit ahead of the curve, and he's been talking about how they were locked down, how they started reducing the lockdown, and then they increased it again, and how they have been having protests and some trouble in there. So I think a lot of stuff that we're going to see in other areas will repeat what's already happened elsewhere.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect on the call, but I noticed your message on the group chat today, and I thought, well, it's been really long since I spoke to people in the community. So, and we're so used to meeting up, otherwise with drinks, because we're such an active community and we like to socialize and things. So I thought I would just drop in and check this out. I quite like your virtual background, by the way. It's like your business card with your face on it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole idea kind of thing. So it's really good on that. I do have I run various groups, and one of them is kind of like a local community group where we just keep in touch with everybody and make sure that everyone's all right, and make sure that the neighbours are keeping okay in there. So, so sometimes
That's kind of you.
So if I'm in a business meeting, I'll have that as the kind of backdrop, which is quite nice because everyone thinks I'm in the city. And then when I'm working from home and doing the community type stuff, I use that background because that's down the river from where we are now. So yeah, it's kind of quite neat having that kind of thing. So it's quite good as well. So how are you finding it generally, Priya?
So we've been working from home for like 2.5. This is the third week actually. So gotten used to it now. Because it's like nobody knows how long this will go on for, I feel like everyone's adapted really well. And it's kind of like made me realize that we're so adaptable, and now this has kind of like become the way of life. And in the start, maybe for the first week, it was a bit strange because it's really different from our usual schedules. But now we're going with the flow and really making the most of it. So initially, the conversation slowed down, and people were not really responding with as much promptness that they would do earlier, because I guess everyone was busy getting their house in order and just coping up with the change around them. But I feel like things have started to pick up again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the first week it was almost like an early vacation. It was almost like Easter started early, and then I think people started realizing, hey, I actually still need to do some work. So it's good to hear. Okay, Don.
Yeah, because the first week we didn't realize how serious the situation was itself.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, I just noticed we've had a couple more people joining. I just want to quickly say hi to Don.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Don. How's it going? Whereabouts are you based, Don?
London. But I'm in Aylesbury now.
Aylesbury. Okay, so you're not so far away from me then. Okay,
No.
cool. No, so how you finding it? Because you're not far from Stoke Mandeville, I guess. If you're in
That's exactly where I am. That's
Yep.
precisely where I am.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, we're just obviously I have a whole load of NHS workers that live around the corner from me, so they're usually giving us a few bits and pieces of updates as to how things are getting on. But I mean, I suppose, well, you know, like most of the blockchain community, some of us, we work remotely anyway, so there's not much change in that. But the main change in my life is that my son doesn't go to school for 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, kind of got the same. I'm amazed that our local school is pumping out loads of work for the kids to do, and it's like this is a job in its own right. So it's pretty powerful.
Exactly.
Exactly. Sorry, we've got Neil joined as well. Neil Fillery.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Priyanka. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hi, Gary. How's things?
Hey Neil, good, thanks. See, this is the kind of thing with these kind of groups. It starts feeling like we all know each other, and even when we don't, we soon will do. So, whereabouts are you, Neil?
I'm based out of High Street, Kensington. So I live and my office is there, but my office is obviously shut right now. But yeah, I'm just at home. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, are you actually in the city itself, then, or certainly Kensington and that? So, you're still wandering around town and that?
No, I'm not wandering around town because that'd probably be against some of the rules that are right out there right now, Gary. But no, yeah, there's still a few faces knocking around on High Street, Kensington. It's pretty quiet, to be honest. It's quite an eerie sort of town right now. Yeah, everyone's sort of staying away to a certain extent. So yeah, it's strange, but it gets a lot of work done.
Okay, that's good. I think you're right. It kind of feels like Christmas on a Sunday morning type thing when you walk around places. I go for a run of a morning, and for the first week, you just didn't see people or cars where I live at all. It's really, really strange. But now there are more and more people walking around, going for walks. More and more people have discovered jogging as a form of exercise. So it's kind of growing in that way. But I was interested in what it was like in a city, as opposed to me, where I'm kind of on the edge of the countryside. George, you might be able to share a little bit more about what's going on in your area that would be of interest, because you were saying that they've got, is it an app on the mobile phone now that you're using to track things?
On mute. Yes, basically for people that have been requested to go on quarantine, that means they have been tested, but they have, for example, come out negative. So the people that would have come positive and maybe have some strong symptoms, they will bring them to some facility. But the people that have no symptoms or so, they, even if the fact that it's just they have even a mild risk, they've been forced to basically stay home, but they're also been given a mobile app that tracks basically their movements.
Okay.
So it's becoming a little bit more aggressive. I do have a request also from a country in the Middle East to buy some GPS ankle trackers as well.
Interesting.
This is not a joke. This is serious business.
Yeah. So I guess is the idea that they're going to have like ankle bracelets to make sure that people don't break quarantine rules and that kind of thing?
That is correct. I mean, the penalties are stiff enough. I mean, in Bahrain, I think it's 1,000 BD, which is about 2,000 euros.
Wow.
Plus three months of prison. I think Dubai is a little bit steeper. Kuwait is also pretty high as well. Qatar, I think, is quite serious. I think it's only the Philippines that, you know, they shoot at you if you break the quarantine. So I think the Middle East is still very reasonable compared to some other parts in the world.
Okay. It's kind of interesting. I think in the UK, we're doing a discount scheme that I think it's £60 for your first fine, but they discount it by 50% if you pay within 14 days. So it's kind of like, it's almost like a traffic violation type thing that I think the UK is using it to generate revenue, not to put people off going outdoors.
Actually, there's an interesting thing, nothing related to Corona, but this is actually a story from Bahrain many years ago. They wanted to introduce mobile payment for parking, but they went against it because they made so much money from the fines. Then there was no point. They preferred to go for the fines payment rather than to actually introduce an easy method of payment for
Wow.
traffic, for parking.
That's amazing, isn't
So I
it?
guess the UK is following this method. Generate the revenue, we don't care about the rest.
Exactly. Hey, Jacob, good of you to join us today.
Good afternoon. How are we doing today?
Hey, we're good. Whereabouts are you, Jacob?
I'm in Portsmouth, so the
Okay.
sunny south. It's
Mhm.
yeah, just as locked down as everywhere else, really. So yeah, but it's
How
nice.
you
We're by the beach, which is good.
How are you finding things? Because Portsmouth is still a reasonably active naval port, and I know the military are getting really antsy at the moment about infection control and that kind of thing. You getting anything down there?
I haven't been down that way, but you know we've closed the seafront in terms of like parking, and it's still quite a busy town, so people are out. But you know, people are out on the street, but the shops, like everywhere, social distancing, letting limited people in and such. But in terms of the naval, don't really have any comments because I haven't been down that way.
Okay, so you're more to the west towards the aquarium, that kind of thing over that way?
Yeah, the aquarium's in the middle, and then I'm in the east, and then the kind of Spinnaker Tower and the naval's in the west. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, thanks for long. Fernando, good afternoon to you. You're one of our regulars.
Hi guys. I was listening carefully to what George was saying. Hi George.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Middle East is really an interesting place to keep an eye on what's going on there, because they seem to have pretty good control of their citizens anyway. And it's kind of a leading thing on that, so that's good. So I was just going to say hi to Robert as well. Mr. Olson, hey there. He's staying on mute. He's making no comment.
Hey, I'm off mute. Yeah, make a quick comment. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Are you still out in Sofia?
I am still in Sofia.
Yeah. And how are things in Bulgaria then?
It is snowy. So we had a touch of snow last week, and then it went, and it was back to warm again, and then it started snowing last night and didn't stop.
Okay.
So we have like a good 2 foot of snow on the cars.
Okay. And how's the kind of like lockdown there going on?
So it's not really locked down. There's one in, one out for supermarkets and pharmacies, but you can still walk around. But the restaurants and bars and cafes are closed.
Okay, well,
as are most of the main shops, you know, like the H&Ms and the Decathlons and those kind of guys.
Okay. Interesting then. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. And we've got another new name, Lucas. Is that Luke? Or is it Lucas? Hey, we're not getting anything out of him. So has anyone heard anything of interest? Anything new going on anyway?
I hear something of very interest, but you guys are not gonna be shocked. Yeah. So yesterday I was on a call with a guy that a lot of us know from Malaysia. So he's a Chinese Malaysian, yeah. And he finished the call with the Brazilian government procurement team. That they are now procuring they want to procure a lot of stuff from China, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the call, a few things were shared, which one of them was that the US president has nominated now 6 companies that are allowed to procure from China for hospitals, etc. So all the public health institutions. And one of the companies is owned by his son. So I'm not surprised at all, you know. It's very interesting, you know, what's going on around procurement around the world. And that for me was like, I'm not surprised, you know. So
I think we're living in a world right now where anything that anyone says comes as no surprise whatsoever. You know, if I've said before now that if it suddenly turns out that Elon Musk takes his face off and it turns out to be an alien, I'd go, yeah, that's no surprise, really.
Yeah.
We definitely live in interesting times. So I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've seen that is of particular relevance for general stuff, and not really. I think that, as Priya was saying before, I think people are just kind of settling down to working remotely now. There's loads of groups I'm involved in where they're just getting used to that. And I'm kind of almost surprised that that hasn't put strain on the likes of Zoom, Skype, and the internet service providers yet. So it's kind of quite good that they're all holding in there. I don't know, is there anything that anyone in particular wants to cover off today in today's session? I just set these up as general chats really with no particular objective in mind. I'm going to take the silence as a no. What we go
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
it's just Gary, just chatty again. Obviously, I'm South African, and concerned about the African continent. We don't seem to be getting much out of what's going on there. Obviously, I've got family on the ground, and they've moved the military into certain regions, and we're quite concerned about the proximity people live in and the poverty there. So people on the ground, they're already concerned with the situation, but I don't know if anyone else is. We don't seem to be getting much out of Africa on the news wires or hearing much. So, I'd be keen to hear from anybody if they've heard anything on what's going on in the big dark continent. That it's a big landmass and a lot of poverty, etc. So as a concern, and I don't see much news coming out there if you've heard anything.
Yeah, the only one I've heard was out of Ghana, where the Ghanese were saying, we do not have a problem. All this claim that we're getting infections is fake. Nobody's dying. Please move along. There's nothing happening here. So that they were kind of in denial. But I haven't really heard anything. There's no other African countries, apart from in the north originally. I think there were a few cases in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, more towards the Africa stroke Middle East type areas as well. But no, anyone else heard anything out of Africa?
Usual stuff in Mauritius. There's queues for supermarkets that go like miles, So it's reaching to some of the countries in Africa what we've been through, It's people running to the supermarkets and stuff like that, In South Africa, it's closed completely. You now have to apply for licenses for export. A lot of the stuff that they, you wouldn't need any license. But apart from that, I know nothing else about Africa.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, cool. So that's something you're absolutely right. I take an interest in India because the two kind of regions that I think are going to get wiped by this are Africa and India. Africa because of the lack of general healthcare. Although bizarrely enough, Africa is really good with Ebola. And go,
there was
George.
there was also a comment out of, I think, Uganda. So in the sense that there was a video. So also Uganda is taking a very serious approach towards the corona issue, in the sense similar to the Philippines, if they don't obey, shoot them kind of thing. So more militaristic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, mate.
That's useful. But yeah, I agree. It would be interesting to hear what's going on in Africa and India. I have a couple of contacts in India, certainly, and I'm amazed by how it's caught them out. And I think it's going to be the same with Africa, that they're all going, oh yeah, there's nothing to worry about, and then suddenly people start dying and they wake up to it. So, but an interesting one. Okay, anybody got anything else? If you want to as well at any point, the great thing with Zoom is if you pull up the participants window, you can choose to raise your hand, I think. If you do at any point have any questions, or you can always put your video in and hold your hand up like that. It's a quite a useful thing. Anyone got any other questions or points to make? We're all silent. Okay, well, it's really good that we've actually got 10 people on the call today. As I was saying earlier on, I've been running these each day. The idea being it's just a 30-minute call to catch up with anyone who wants to chat about anything, hear about what's going on elsewhere in the world, hearing what's going on with the lockdowns, with the economic impact, what's going on with the different continents. You know, as Chad was saying, Africa, we're not hearing much about. I just kind of open it up for anyone who has any questions or comments. It runs each day, 2 o'clock for 30 minutes, so please do join any future sessions as well. Anyone got any other questions, or should we close it off for today?
No, none from my end.
None here.
Okay.
Just as a new caller, just
Well, it's good.
an introduction about yourself, Gary, and CryptoAM from someone who literally knows nothing about that.
Okay, so me, I generally describe myself as a blockchain luminary, in that I'm not a blockchain expert. I know a bit about it and I cast a bit of light on it. So I do education, training, advisory type stuff around that. And CryptoAM is a thing that James Bowater has set up. He's not on the call today. He was writing for City AM, which is the London business newspaper, with a crypto section in it, which became known as CryptoAM. And he's grown it from there and he's built it up. And he's now taken that digital, so it's now online only. And so he set up the CryptoAM WhatsApp group originally around the COVID-19 type thing. And then he quite quickly, I think, got overwhelmed by the amount of moderation that's required on these groups at times. I run a lot of WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups, so he contacted me and said, can you give me a hand, mate? So I help with the moderation, hopefully reasonably fairly and reasonably promptly. Although I'm not perfect, so occasionally I'll throw people off and I'm misunderstood, to which I apologise. So I just got involved in that way. So James Bowater, who may be back on the call tomorrow, he runs CryptoAM more as a kind of a business now, but I'm just doing it for a bit of, because I help develop communities and build communities, and I'm really keen to just connect people. So it's like one of the calls we had like this a few days ago, ended up connecting someone in the UK who is looking for medical supplies with someone in Hong Kong who's connected with the Chinese medical supply manufacturers. So it's really cool to just connect people, which is what I love doing. So that's kind of me, really.
Okay, brilliant.
Cool. So hopefully that was of some interest to everybody. So thanks for coming along. Like I say, each day we'll hook up on this. And meantime, all I'll offer is a parting comment of wash your hands and have a good day.
Cheers, Gary.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, bye now.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.